I'm Sawd,
And I'm Punk.
and you're listening to I'm definitely not a Popufur.
a sanitation
Not a
worker.
Popufur. There's been no indication I've been a pop. Oh, sorry. We're different
Popufur.
podcasts. Oh, sorry.
Oh, oops.
Punk and I have a whole empire where we just go
Yeah.
to multiple jobs. And it's just great. Either ways, everybody, you were listening to the podcast where every single episode we take someone with us on our walk, their walk into the furry fandom and everything that's been great about how they got into it, etc., etc. And this week, we have a very, very dear friend of ours. This is someone who has been a streamer, who's been a content creator of their own, and has just been about in the world for the fandom nearly as long as Punk has. You might know him, you might have seen him around. He sometimes goes under the moniker of shadiestfox, but most critically, we know him and we welcome him as Shade. Shade, how you doing?
Hi, how's it going?
Hello.
Good. We're here. We're doing it. I'm just excited too because this is one. This is a pick very specifically. Punk was adamant that you be on for this episode too. But before we do anything,
So this is going to be his fault.
It already is. It already is. But most critically, Shade, normally I would do the thing where like I'd maybe like, hey, can you tell us maybe a little bit about your Sona? Can you tell us about everything else? But actually, Punk, beforehand, Shade and I were speaking, and he very specifically wants to hear a story from you. He very specifically, in your own words, wants to know, how did you meet Shade?
Okay. I had a
Sorry
feeling,
to put you on the spot right out
I had a
the gate.
feeling this was going to happen. I don't know if my story is the same as Shade, so I'm curious.
Which is specifically why I wanted to hear
your
side of it.
We're off to a great start, everyone.
Damn. Okay. Do I need a lawyer or something?
I don't know. I don't know the content of the story. So you have.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Okay. So pretty much like, what was it?
I was gonna say it was bad in any sense.
No, it wasn't. I mean, it was kind of bad for me at that point.
So anyway, after I was acquitted by the jury, I met someone.
After I went to witness protection for the third time.
Okay, but for real.
Yeah. Okay. So like way back in the day, we have a friend who used to throw these like big like parties out in like bumfuck nowhere, and I remember like I don't know how long they've been doing it. I think it was like a few years prior. So when I moved back from New York, or I think I was there during the summer, where I'm at now. My one friend, my best friend, invited me to one of these parties, and I'm like, you know what? Let me go. And so I went, and we were just hanging out, and my friend mentioned, oh, there's a dude there who's also like a furry. And I'm like, oh, that's what's up. Like, hell yeah. And eventually, like, I met Shade, and I think we were just like chatting. And I think at one point, I had really bad TMJ at the time, and my jaw locked up. And I think I asked him, I'm like, hey, I know I just met you and all, but like, can you do me a favor and possibly punch me in the jaw to unlock my thing? Just unlock it. And I forgot what he said, but luckily it popped back into place before he could. And then after that, we just kind of vibed, I guess.
I'm gonna be honest. I have zero recollection of you ever asking me to punch you square in the jaw.
Dude, I dead ass said that to you, so I'm glad that you forgot, but now you remembered.
Well, yeah, drop over
I have no recollection of it, but I'm hoping that my response was like, I don't really do that, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I think you laughed or whatever, but luckily it popped back into place when you laughed. I'm like, oh, okay, we're good.
And that was the beginning.
Yes.
Okay. Well, if that's Punk's recollection, and Shade, if you have no recollection of it, what was your recollection of it for the first time?
It sort of started the same way because
you had your jaw locked.
Yeah. No, that typically doesn't happen. Yeah. Typically. But so we were having these parties. It was just kind of a thing that we did at the time. We all got together at a friend's place, and they had like this large barn outside of their parents' place where we just kind of like all got together and just kind of hung out and partied and did stupid shit, and it was always fun. So I don't remember how many of those times went by before. I vaguely remember I was asked to go to this specific one, and I was told that there was going to be somebody new that was going to be going over there that our friend knew, and they told me, and they were like, "Oh yeah, he's also a fairy apparently," and I was like, "No way." There's no way. Because I mean, you got to understand, like, we're out in the middle of nowhere. Like,
Yeah.
this is an incredibly small town, and at that point, as long as I had been in it, like, the statistically speaking, the likelihood of running into
A
another
real life
someone,
furry,
yeah,
right.
like yeah, actually in the fandom and everything, like, was incredibly slim. And for it to be somebody that one of our friends knew already was like, what the hell? So what's crazy is that I was actually Punk, I was actually kind of low key excited to meet you, and I had never seen you before in my life. I never laid eyes on you, but I was low key actually kind of excited to to go over there and see you and everything. And yeah,
Oh.
so I remember when we got there, and he was just chill. Like, it was just an awesome. I don't think we really brought it up though. I don't really think we talked about it
Yeah.
or anything. Like, I think we just kind of like vibed,
Acknowledged. It
and
was like,
yeah, we just kind of like
we got this.
acknowledged, you know, like a little hat tip, and
Wink and a nod.
yeah, a little
Mhm.
wink
Little
and a
ear
nod,
twitch.
and then um after we vibed and started like talking and hanging out a little bit, I think was whenever we actually kind of went into the whole similarity and being in the fandom and everything. And it was just kind of like, I mean, Punk was already cool, like he was already awesome, like on his own merit, but that was like a multiplier, you know, like
Mhm.
being having that similarity was just awesome. So,
That's
and then the
awesome.
rest is history. We just kind of started hanging out ever since then, and I just always kind of considered myself like I for all the viewers out there, like just I'm probably gonna have maybe a Care Bear moment here or there, but I'm just gonna like preface it by saying that like I did consider myself like really lucky to had run into Punk from wherever the hell he came from at the time, because like at the time I didn't really know, like I didn't know how this even happened, but I was like, I don't know how this is happening, but this is awesome. Like he's
Shit.
awesome, this is
Yeah.
awesome, and yeah, it was a really fortunate situation.
That's awesome.
Statistically very unlikely, but yeah, it's just one of them
Yeah.
things, man.
Also,
Sometimes life is wild like that.
didn't you say you weren't even going to like show up or something like to that party? I think you mentioning it to me that you almost like dipped out and decided not to go.
Maybe. I don't remember that specifically, but that sounds like my character. So I wouldn't be I wouldn't be surprised if maybe I was like not feeling like it. Maybe I was trying to play like Battlefield or something that night, and I was like, I don't know. But I tried to make myself like get out and do some more stuff. So yeah, I
That
guess I
was
was fortunate that I decided to actually go to that one specifically.
yeah, because that was my case too. Like I don't know if I wanted to, but as I say, our friend he kind of was like, no, bro, just come on, like you need to do it. There's nothing else going on today, and you're here for
Right.
the summer, so like go and like do shit. And I'm
Well,
like,
and that's
okay.
like awkward whenever there's the friend who's like, "Oh, it's like, oh, you're gay. He's gay. You guys should meet up. You're both gay." Like, like just to be
Yeah,
like another furry. It's always like, I mean, fine, but like, I'm more than that. But also in this specific instance, that sounds like kind of exactly what y'all needed in a sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was kind of like, yeah, I'm what?
Because it's like what, 2010, 2009, something like that.
Oh my God, how long ago
about
was this?
I think this was I don't know. I would have to look. I think I still have the photos from that night to like on my old Facebook.
I was
I would have to
definitely
like
graduated high school, which would have been after 2011. So I'm pretty sure it had to be after that point, or maybe it was
2011.
like directly after.
I don't know because again to show my age, I graduated in like '09, and I don't think I moved here until 2011. So maybe I did just move here or
Damn.
something. That would be
So,
about right. You're right. Yeah. Okay. No, that adds up.
yeah. So
The
it's still a
math
very
is there.
different era.
Yeah.
Yes. You were still party rock antheming as far as we could tell. That is the best time signature we can give this period. Well, that said, Shade, you did mention that you went to this party. This is how you met Punk, and it's like, oh, you get to meet another furry. You were a furry before you met Punk.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So what specifically, I guess, happened in that instance then? Like what, I guess, how did that come to be for you as much as you're willing to go into it?
I kind of feel like, man, that was so long ago now. It's kind of hard to remember, but I feel like throughout most of my life, through early childhood, I always kind of had a affinity for anthropomorphism in general, whether it
Hmm.
was, I think one of probably probably one of the main catalysts, I guess, were movies like the Disney Robin Hood.
I
Um,
mean, they drew them so
uh,
sexy. What can we do? That's
I,
just a thing
I
that
mean,
happened.
it
Yeah.
is what it is, you know. But I mean, it wasn't necessarily that at the time, but I just thought it was cool. Like I just thought the
Hmm.
concept was cool, and I always thought that it was just a neat thing. And I always enjoyed movies that had kind of centered around that, and a lot of them at the time were. And I went most of my early childhood and into like teenage years, just kind of knowing that I thought it was cool, but that was about it.
Hmm.
And it was only until I would say maybe right after middle school, maybe it was like maybe freshman year of high school where I somehow, some way had run across maybe an image or like an early day meme or something that let me know that there was like an entire community of people that also thought that that was cool.
Hmm.
And I was like, no way. This is awesome. I definitely want in on this. And I mean, granted, I knew very little of it at the time. Like what, my knowledge of everything about it was very minimal, but I knew that much.
Hmm.
And I feel like I was just kind of instantly hooked from that point onward.
So once you discovered this, then was it like, did you immediately start like, I gotta find myself an OC, or was it just I was kind of an outside observer and this stuff kind of like blended together, or like, I guess what was the journey to that for you?
I think I was a little bit of an outside observer for a while. I was just kind of appreciating it from afar.
Hmm.
And then I feel like the more I kind of threw myself into it and did research and found different things to kind of follow and be a part of or whatever, it slowly but surely became apparent that it would be a cool idea to have like my own sort of my own character that represented me that I wanted to
Hmm.
make for me, and to have a name and everything. So um, it took a little while, but um, it kind of came on the more I leaned into it more. But yeah,
Yeah. I mean that's fair. And so Shade is your first and only OC, or?
the character itself has gone through very little changes since the beginning, but a little bit of lore to me. Um, in the very, very early days, I was actually under the name Tech Fox.
Okay.
Um, because I knew that I was all about technology at the time and everything, and I thought that it was just a name that kind of sounded cool, so I just went with that. I just went by Tech. Like
Yeah.
that was where I was at for the longest time, and then maybe a couple of years later, well, probably more than a couple of years later, I eventually decided to just kind of switch it up and have something a little different, just to kind of fit the character a little more. So, but yeah,
Nice.
Tech Fox was my original name, and I used that name. I don't know if anybody, Punk, you might possibly I don't think I've ever actually mentioned this to you before. If you're as much of an old head as I am,
what about
but
your old name or?
no, 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 no. I'm talking
Oh,
about I used that name whenever I was on IRC, whenever I was on AnthroChat servers. Do you
oh,
remember
yeah,
AnthroChat, dude?
yeah. I briefly
Actually, though.
remember it. Like I briefly remember it, but again, I was on the Furtopia forums mostly and like other IRC chats. for
Yeah,
like
one of the first couple of
kigurumis and
ones.
stuff.
I never really, I didn't know much about Furtopia. I only knew about like Furfinity. That was
Oh, okay.
like the main like hub, I guess, for me. But AntherChat was like with all the servers and AntherChat and going into IRC and joining different channels and things like that. That was one of the first things that I remember was an avenue for me to socialize with other people in the fandom, and that was also my name in IRC for years and years and years and years.
So, just for anyone at home, can you briefly explain specifically what that chat was? It was just literally a chat forum for like-minded people and animals and whatnot to kind of just interact for the most part, or was it like closer to Discord? Or I guess what kind of context would people have that may not be familiar with it?
Okay, it's so IRC is just internet relay chat. It's just you basically use a program to access a list of servers, and then whenever you like, you can make your own server and everything. So AntherChat was kind of like I might be really ignorant on how this all works, but from what I saw, like AntherChat was like the main hub for all the servers or all the like channels and
And the
rooms that you could make.
subservers and the
Yeah, pretty
yeah.
much. And you could make your own, and like it was pretty much just like a hangout spot, like text wise.
Hmm.
You know, you had like a list of all the people that were in there, and there'd be, you know, there's some would be more kind of, you know, just maybe a handful of people that just kind of hung out together, and sometimes there'd be like, you know, big ones, like big popular ones where there's like hundreds of people that are in there, and so it was more of like a text based kind of chat room sort of deal. Um,
Hmm.
and you just kind of joined different ones and found people that way, and just, you know, a lot of the times the rooms were maybe based on certain interests. You know, like there'd
Hmm.
maybe be like a music based sort of room that somebody would make where you know, the main kind of idea was to talk about the certain thing or similar interests and whatnot. So
And from what I understand, you also, on top of all this, were someone per the last episode that we had where we talked to Dingaroo. You were also someone who found, I guess, solace, comfort, joy within the Fun Day Poppet show as well, if I'm not
oh
mistaken.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
man. Fun Day Paw
Yeah.
Pet Show was my jam for a while. That was at the height of my hanging out in IRC with a handful of people that to this day, actually, there's some of them that I still talk to this day that I met in those chat rooms. But the Fun Day Paw Pet Show was another one that I have no idea how I ran across the Fun Day Paw Pet Show. I don't know if maybe someone mentioned it, or maybe I saw it as like a banner thing, maybe on
Yeah.
FA or something like that. I can't remember, but either way, like I found the Fun Day Paw Pet Show, and I specifically remember being in those shows. Like it got to a point where I would anticipate, you know, the day of the week or whatever, like whatever day they would go live, and I would be in there, and it was so fun, man. It was so, like the energy that they had, just the camaraderie and the energy and community that those guys had with themselves and also their guests. That was one of the many things that I feel like really drew me in, you know.
Hmm.
um Definitely, like, and the subservient fursuit thing, which I know Punk knows what I'm talking about with that,
Yeah.
but that was really fun to see, because that was kind of like the first time that I kind of got to see like suitors, like kind of doing their thing, like and just how much fun everyone was having at the, you know, with doing it, and it was just so, it was just such a nice thing to be a part of, and I'm thankful that I was able to find them when I did, because it was super fun, and that's part of
Because
that.
like
I'd say Anther or IRC and Fun Day Paw Pet Show were like the two things that I think I leaned on, that drew me into the fandom a lot.
yeah. Well, and it's like it's kind of like pushed you to as well because at some point you made the choice of like, you know what, I'm all gonna do it. I'm actually gonna show up at a con, right?
Right. I specifically remember whenever I was watching the Fun Day Paw Pet Show, I think they were talking about like a con, or maybe they were like, I don't know what they were talking about. I just remember specifically there being a couple of times where I was daydreaming about how awesome it would be to be able to go to a con and just be around all those people that are just like that, and like
Mm-hmm.
seeing the suitors and like seeing friends that like I made, and like I remember that being something that I wanted, but the chances of it actually happening at that time were very like incredibly slim.
Right.
And then fast forward a couple of years, and the first time I went to a con was FWA in Atlanta in 2015.
Okay.
2015 was the first time I went to a con, and I went with a couple of homies that I had either met through IRC or at the times, when I fast forward that many couple of years, I guess there were a few that I had met gaming. I had ran into a couple of them during games and made friends that way by that time. And I think we all just kind of decided, we were like, dude, you want to go to FWA maybe? And like it just kind of happened out of nowhere, and I found a way to make it work. And I was beyond excited. It was one of the best things ever.
That's awesome. Did you just attended? You didn't have like, did you have a head or a suit, or did you just attend as like a pure fan? I'm just here to just meet and experience and do all that.
Definitely, I definitely did not have any of that. I just went with some friends, and at that point they didn't either. We just all wanted to go and experience it together and just like have a fun time. And that was the first time that I had met any of them like in real life either.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a whole other experience, because these are people that I had spoken
I
to for
can
years.
only imagine how nervous one would have to be like, hey, let me meet up all these people that I've talked to online in person finally for the first time at this con. I can only
Yeah.
imagine the levels of anxiety you have to like pole vault over in order to get there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There was several times I was on the way there, like, and I remember flying there too, like alone. That was
Oh
the first time
shit.
I'd ever flown alone, and like also,
Wait, really?
So you just
yeah,
had all of these new experiences
yeah. I
At
had never
once.
flown
At
alone
once.
before.
at once.
Yeah.
That was like one of the biggest YOLOs I've ever pulled, I think. But it turned out, it turned out to
Pulling
be
that YOLO, baby.
really
Yeah.
positive.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it was not only super fun, and I'm glad to have experienced FWA in the time period that I did, but also the friends that I had met up with were exactly exactly how I knew them already. It wasn't like you met
Hmm.
someone and they turned out to be different, or like they turned out to be an asshole, or anything like that. Like whenever we all met up, we just picked up where we left off from knowing
In
each other
chat.
online. Like
Yeah.
we were already best friends. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it was a super positive experience, like the entire way. And I guess I can consider myself very fortunate that it went down the way it did, because
Mhm.
it kept me hooked all the way till now. So
Yeah. Well, don't worry. Once you meet me in person, you're going to be disappointed all over again. I will
I'm gonna throw
gladly
my
be the
badge in the
first.
trash and never go to a
Yeah.
con.
I'm into Transformers now. Deal with it. So, I mean, actually, this is, truth be told, I think this might actually become probably one of the staples of the podcast because I'm just so fascinated by it too. And I think you kind of already spoiled it, so I think I kind of already know the answer. But do friendships within this fandom work differently?
Yes and no. Um,
Okay.
yes and no. It's I feel like it's different a little bit now than it maybe used to be whenever I was going through what I was, and the people that I
Hmm.
met. Um, I think maybe it's a little different than it used to be. I Because now it seems like sometimes with the way like the onlineification of the fandom has gone, and I guess just the way people are nowadays, I feel like sometimes friendships can be topical, um, but that could also be just me getting old and just kind of shrinking my social circle down.
Hmm.
Because I think you go through changes, everyone does, regardless if you're in the fandom or not. Like your friendships are gonna change, and uh, people are gonna change over time, regardless. But I think that in comparison to normal life and in the fandom, they're similar, But it's definitely a lot easier, I think, to make friends initially, just because of the natural accepting nature of the fandom. You don't have to go into it with and a certain anxiety of like being yourself around someone. I feel like making those friendships and those connections are a lot easier, but sometimes they can come and go a lot faster, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
I
think
could.
Punk can probably agree with that a little bit.
Yeah. I think.
Oh, all right
Well,
then.
I think
All
I've
right,
been, well, I
done.
think I
Settled. All
mentioned
right.
this.
Thank you.
No, I
Thank
think
you for your insight.
well, I kind of
Case
mentioned
closed.
this on the last podcast, kind of how I
Yeah.
had the same feeling, how social media has changed everything, is a lot more fast paced.
Hmm.
You might hang out with one group of friends for a week and then move on to a different group of friends, and it just, the cycle continues until you find a group that you can vibe with longer than a month. And
Hmm.
and those are the people that you want to be around.
Hmm.
And I feel like they come and go more often because it's a lot different than it used to be in the past, where you didn't have Discord and you didn't have Twitter, or I mean, you had Twitter, I guess, but you didn't have like TikTok, and it wasn't as accepted, I guess,
Accessible.
in a sense. Yeah, it wasn't as accessible. Like you
Hmm.
couldn't just go, you couldn't just immediately find a group to like be around and people to talk to and everything. It was a lot harder back then. And so whenever you did find them, like a lot of times those friendships would last longer,
The bond
or
would just be that much more intense because it's like, oh my God, finally someone.
in a sense, yeah. And I feel like nowadays, where it's so much more accessible, and it's in a sense, in the public image, a little bit more accepting. It's not as afraid to be in a lot more spaces, I guess, in social media's eyes, that it's a lot easier to make those connections, but they come faster and they go faster as well.
Hmm. Yeah. And it's like that's the thing where like I gotta be honest, not to like pull the curtain too much, but like a week and a half ago, like, Punk has been like ever since we started this podcast, as we gotta get shade on. And the thing is that like cool, I literally have no idea who this person is, and so like I just kind of was like going off of clues on like of TikTok or whatnot. And then he finally put us in contact and we talked, and then like we talked like for a lot for like a while. And it was like pretty cool, but like it's kind of been my experience just in this fandom where it's just like someone is introduced to you and then you make a lot of connection very quickly on here. And that's why I will probably continue asking this question, because the rapidity of it is just so fascinating to me. It's not just the speed of it, it's just the depth of it too. Because like I at this point, like it's weird to say, having only known you for like a week and a half, but like Shade, it's like you and I are going to be speaking for a long time after this podcast. I know that for sure. That's actually that's the intent of this whole podcast. I'm just making more friends this way. I'm just inviting people
Yeah.
on, getting their deets, gonna just like email them randomly throughout the night. No, it's
Sliding into the DMs,
sliding into
nothing,
that's the
light,
whole point.
like
It's just a front. It's also a money laundering operation, but that's its own thing on the side. But it's I don't know. It's just like it's just so fascinating to me. And I think one of the things that is unique is that you get to meet people that I don't think you would normally meet, because when you have furry as not necessarily a cover, you talk about kind of being almost like your most authentic self. And that's one of the things that actually fascinated me, is that when I saw what you had on your socials, is that like there's like a couple of videos of you streaming some games, because I know that was a big part of you as well, and then a couple of videos of you also at the shooting range too. And like it's the thing where it's like you are and please don't let me put any words in your mouth or whatever, but like you are a tactical weapons individual. You were someone who is, I think, a Second Amendment defender as well, and someone that's like these things are not necessarily mutually exclusive kind of things. Because and this is maybe I'm a little bit of a soapbox, and please, both of you, please pull me down if this seems a little strange, but like I think there is maybe some perceptions or idea of what a furry is, of either just like this jovial, buoyant, like rainbow colored, whoever kind of person. But there are so many depths and shades and uh, just like levels within it too. And it's the thing where like when you post some of that stuff on there, when it's under Shady as Spots, it's not necessarily a furry thing, but it is still very much a part of your life and something that you're unafraid of too. Is there, I think, actually, I'm just going to pose the question to you, Shade, real quick, and you can tangent as you wish. But like, I think you and I discussed the idea that like when you're at a shooting range or whatnot, to actually do it one day in a fursuit would be a pretty dope thing to have happen at some point, yes or no?
Yes, assuming that I could do it in the safest way possible.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
If I can
Shade.
achieve that, then yes, sure.
I
Hell
was
yeah.
gonna
would
say,
I would love that.
Shade, I have fursuits, so we can make it happen.
Hey,
Happening right here, right now.
Yeah, let's
I,
go. Get
yeah,
the
let's,
live
can
feed.
we close this out real quick? Can we just
Yeah.
come back and
Let's get a live feed going.
get a live TikTok
Yeah.
feed going?
Yeah. But like low key, it's like you don't have any shame, you don't have any worry about like putting any of the stuff on there because that's just still like authentically you, right, Shay?
Yeah, and I feel like I think a lot of people that have been around for a while can definitely attest to the fandom has grown exponentially
Yes.
over the last like 10, 15, 20 years. Um, and inevitably, whenever you have a fandom of any kind that's that insanely large,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have people of all different perspectives, all different political opinions, interests, all sorts of different walks of life. So I think it's just a product of more diversity in the fandom just from sheer numbers alone.
Mm-hmm.
So I never really thought that maybe it would contradict the interest of the fandom or my enjoyment of it or my identity in it or anything like that. I just kind of felt like, that's just something that I am interested in, that I enjoy. And I know of plenty of other people that are the same way. So
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of rock with it. And I'm sure people that are also in the same interest as me will be like, hey, that's pretty cool.
Right.
And
Well, and that's the whole that's the whole thing, that's the whole point of this is that again, this is the whole idea of the fandom that you're kind of being your most authentic self at any given time. And so like how is this not the most authentic part of you? Although I do wonder if it's slightly different because you used to be a game streamer. I think still are to a degree, to a large part, but you had to also I'm not sure if you felt any different about having to maintain a streamer identity or kind of a put on perspective when you were streaming and having to entertain people that would come in to watch you game at any given point too, if there's any difference in that for you.
not necessarily. I mean, there's an element of you having to learn how to not only focus on the game that you're playing, but you also want to be attentive to people that are in your chat. Like you want
Hmm.
to. That was a learning curve for me. It was being able to talk to people and like keep an audience and not necessarily be overly entertaining, like in a fake way, but just
Right.
being myself and just talking and hanging out with anybody that was in there at the time as if they were just here chilling with me, like, in person. So
Hmm.
I never really tried to portray an over the top, like energetic, like extroverted
Hey guys,
personality. Yeah, because that's just
smash
not
that
me. Like,
subscribe button. Yeah.
yeah,
Ring that
I
bell.
was never, I'm definitely not extroverted in any sense. I'm pretty much the opposite of all that. So I sort of just ran with that, and I did have worries at the time. I'm like, dude, nobody's gonna watch me because I'm not that, and all the people that had followings and people that liked them and wanted to hang around them were people that were like that. So it was a little bit
Hmm.
demotivating at the time, but I over time, the people that I did garner into my streams and that expected me to be on and liked me being, you know, like I remember someone telling me once that like I was actually their favorite streamer, and that was one of the weirdest compliments I had ever received. Not because I didn't appreciate it, but more like I didn't I couldn't comprehend. It
You couldn't
wasn't.
process. Yeah.
Yeah, it was hard for me to process that anybody would enjoy watching me sit here and play a game that much. So
Right.
um
Uh,
it, it kind of
you're
goes
my
hand
you're
in
my
hand.
second favorite streamer. Just FYI.
Oh,
I'm not
well, I
sure if that
appreciate
helps.
that. Make sure you make sure you use that Amazon Prime next time you're in there.
Yeah.
Oh no, I was just gonna kind of like go into it. Kind of goes hand in hand with my character in a sense because I was never really someone that had like a specific lore or specific characteristics that I wanted to attach to this character whenever I'd come up with it. I sort of just innately created it as being me. You know, I didn't really have a specific lore I wanted to go behind it, or a story, or whatever. I kind of just wanted it to be me, and whoever liked me as me would also like how my character portrays themselves, in a sense. I kind of want them to be more or less the same, because to me they are more or less the same. So I never wanted to portray anything different than as authentically me as possible, and whoever I gravitated towards me that liked that, I knew were genuinely around for me, and not something else that I was trying to make them like.
Yeah. I will say that personally, that's been one of the things that I've been having a kind of a weird time negotiating, is this whole Sona OC connection thing, because it's like I am kind of in a similar space where like I just cannot parse myself being something anything else than what I am. Like it just seems like such a simple thing, but like on the last episode, I know Dingaroo talked about how like he created his original character Kairu as like his best friend, and he can never be that person. He never wants to be in a suit or anything for that, because it was just was so other from him. It was like an ideal to kind of like live up to.
Mm.
And similarly, when we had Kaizen on our episode, he talked about like there's a lot of things about the Kaizen that he's still discovering, and it's kind of like Kaizen's somewhat of an inspirational figure, and it's like I just can't do that. Like I've kind of accepted recently that Spence, the bunny that is kind of like across all my socials, is kind of the mascot for my music project Paws Button, who composed the theme of the show, by the way, now on Bandcamp. But like that thing, like finally I was able to kind of just like I was like, oh well, I have the VR outfit for him, and like I have all this art of him that I've commissioned, but it's just like it was Coffee Pot who finally was just like, it's a Sona. You could just deal with it. It's a Sona. I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. But it's like at the same time, even when I'm in chat or anything, it's just still me. I know for other people, I've equated it to when drag queens putting on personas and sometimes finding that ideal or whatever. But like, I don't know. It's just like I've accepted the fact that this is kind of like how I might be presented as, but at the end of the day, it's just I'm never going to be anything else than me. So yeah, it's kind of weird to exit that expectation, because I think there are some people who very much will inhabit those characters. But even then, Punk, you, as we discussed previously, and please clarify as you feel the need to, but like
Mm.
you don't have a Sona, you just have characters for the most part.
Yeah, and the tism. So, so
Yes.
Facts.
I just like to make characters. So,
Yeah. Yes. Brought to you by Tylenol. Yes. But yet, like legitimately though, like because even when you're in your punkydmouse or fox form, that I think is the red bow-tied one that maybe most people
yes,
are familiar with, that's kind of still you, but maybe not really? Question mark.
yeah, the fox is me.
Hmm.
I felt like that's just I needed an avatar because again I was using Punky and he
Hmm.
was kind of me, just with like a different voice and a little bit more like I guess snarky and sarcastic. And then I didn't want to use him all the time, so I just end up having the fox that I made, and I was like, you know what, that's just my default. So if I don't want to do Punky or do the voice for like 3 hours, which still fun to do, but I feel like people would get annoyed by it. Um, I can just be the fox. But all
Right.
of my characters are now slowly just becoming me. At this point,
Hmm.
it's like they have different voices and maybe different like tweaks to the personality, but in the end, they're all sarcastic. They all have dry humor. They all are just, I guess, the core of me. So
And
Well,
that's
the other thing.
interesting, man. I never actually knew that you didn't have a sort of, I guess, persona of you. You know what I mean? I always kind of knew that the fox was, but I didn't never really know if that was just something that you randomly just kind of chose, just so you could kind of like be normal in your stream or whatever, and not have to really like be a character, or if that was actually what if you were to make a persona of you, like
Yeah.
OEM punk, you know? Like,
Well,
would
the
that
thing
be that or
is,
something else?
well, the thing is, you met me under my old alias under Jack. Well, actually, before that, technically, like under my old name. But my old persona was Jack, which was the gray wolf, the
Right.
mohawk and the
Yeah,
piercings and
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, so that was considered more of a persona. And
Okay,
then
yeah.
again, as I got older, went to cons again, like I rocked that persona for a good, I want to say like almost 10 years, I think. And then I kind of retired him towards my partner and stuff. And so he kind of has that character now in a way. And then I just kind of, came up with my own. And it was just a play on words because I used to go by Punky because I started doing Pinky impressions from Pinky and the Brain, and then I used to go by that Punk Wolf on VRC during pandemic, and then someone just said like, "Oh, Punky," or they started calling me Punk. They started calling me Punk first as a abbreviation of that Punk Wolf, and it stuck. And I'm like, I like that. That's just going to be me now.
Yeah.
And I just used the fox that I had a public avatar of.
So
at
was
the
there like
time.
a reason that you kind of decided to eventually retire Jack? Or did it just kind of
Um,
like fall off? Or was there, like
He fell
what
off.
was the
Less
catalyst for
popular.
that?
yeah,
So
he
boring.
just no one cared about him. No, I just kind of I felt like I did everything with him. I went to multiple cons. Like when I got the first suit, like I went, on Furtopia and FA and DA under that persona. And I guess once I got the first suit, like a 2 years later, I went to like what 5 different cons. I went to like 5 years worth of cons every year, and went to like music shows as him,
Oh,
and
hell yeah.
I did a bunch of other stuff as him, and I got mileage. And I guess after a while, I'm just like, I did everything with him, and I just got bored, kind of. So I got more into like voice acting and stuff. I'm like, oh, I like the idea of having these characters that
Mm-hmm.
I can just kind of give stories to and play around with, and treat it like the Sims in my head, and
So when
like
you
put
say
them
you
in
got
these
done with
particular.
him, like you had done everything, and you kind of
Yeah.
like after you had done everything, you just kind of got bored. So that kind of lets me. So that kind of means that like, did you ever really see Jack like as your like as you, if you were to make a persona like of you, what like
Yeah.
connects to you the most? Like is that what came about and it still just kind of got old or
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, I think it at the time, again, when you first joined the fandom, you're so overwhelmed and you want a persona, you want your own character because everyone has one. And of
right?
course, a lot of people go for the basics. I want to be a wolf. I want to be a fox. I want to be a rabbit.
Right.
Like basic starter kit, like your starter Pokemon. And and then again, but what was me was the punk aspect. Again, he had red mohawk, he had piercings, he had that like that attitude, that New York attitude that I wanted, I guess. So but I guess over time, as I got more experience and got to, talk to more people and see more things, it grew, and my perception changed. And with my character now, or with most of my characters, I still kept that punk attitude and that vibe with them.
Yeah, the
So that,
underlying you was still there.
yeah,
It just changed species
yeah,
a couple times.
yeah, pretty much it just morphed.
It
And
evolved.
I
Hey.
see as like Doctor Who. I had regenerations. So I'm on
You
my
fucking
what?
nerd. I love you so
I
much.
know I'm on my like 14th regeneration. No, maybe no. I'm on like my 5th, I guess, regeneration.
It's in this Colin Baker era. I mean, like legit that like that's real though. Like I the thing is that like as the one thing I'm learning, and I think one of the reasons why I love doing this podcast so much too, is that everyone's journey and everyone's story is so uniquely different. And I think like even my own story, which I think is basic as all hell, I still think is like unique in its own way. Just because as people talk about it, as we come here, like we all kind of hit roughly the same meeting point, but we all have our different roads and paths to get here, and also all our the function of what we're looking to maybe even get out of the fandom kind of alters a little bit. If you don't mind me tangenting just a little bit, Shay, you are, as self-described already in this podcast, an old head, and also, you know, I mean, we all are to a degree. You did mention how the podcast seems to be, I'm sorry, the podcast no, but like the fandom seems to be growing and expanding and taking on so many more people. It's in VR, it's in all these other spaces that weren't always there, and you describe it as a good thing. Just not to be the most old head person in the world, but I'm just going to ask. Is there anything kind of about the old days that you kind of miss or are nostalgic for or wish kind of had carried on but hasn't?
Hmm. That's a good question.
If the
Uh
answer is nothing, that's okay too. But
yeah, I appreciate that as much as it's grown, that it's becoming more normalized. It's becoming
hmm
more accepting in a sense. The larger it grows, I feel like there are things about the fandom back then that I kind of am nostalgic for, but I don't necessarily know if it's specific to the fandom itself that I'm nostalgic for, or if it's just that time period of my life in general that I'm nostalgic for.
Mm.
hmm That's fair. Would
But I do think that by and large, it's at least from what I can tell at the moment, thinking about it, it's for the most part a pretty positive thing in general, especially the accessibility of it. You know, whenever somebody felt kind of like I did for the longest time and didn't even know that the community existed. Um,
hmm
so I think that maybe other people that feel that way will maybe find the community easier and kind of get their foot in the door and find out that maybe they're not alone like they think they were faster than
hmm
it maybe someone like me had to deal with.
Could you imagine your life if you weren't a furry?
Yeah. Um I can specifically remember the days of my life being younger where I had no idea that it existed. I definitely would not have met some of the coolest people I think I've ever met in my life otherwise. I feel like my life would have been more bland. I wouldn't have
hmm
been as confident to go out and do things that I wouldn't have done otherwise. I wouldn't have found out things about my life that I wouldn't have known otherwise. I think I grew as a person in a lot of ways by connecting to so many different people, and I can imagine what I may have been like without it and without all those experiences and learning opportunities and self reflections and figuring things out about myself. But I definitely am pretty certain that I wouldn't have liked it. I wouldn't have liked myself as much as I do, now, knowing what I know now and going through what I've gone through. It
hmm
wouldn't have been it wouldn't have been as cool of a me, I guess, if I can say that at
Yeah.
all.
Dude, I mean, listen, I could probably pull up the message right there, but it's like again, I did not know you like that well, and then like I think I told Punk like after like chatting for you for like 2 days, I was just like, this dude's pretty fucking dope, like for real. Like
Yeah.
it's just like for like I am so glad that he kind of pushed it together and made this happen because like you clearly have space and agency even within the fandom, but like just within people's lives too. Like I think we could all be self-deprecating, all have that imposter syndrome there, but like you are so unapologetically you and so confidently you, and it's just like that's kind of like what you expect out of the fandom and kind of what you want out of it. And I don't know, I think it's just pretty dope. I'm so glad you agreed to do this, and I'm so glad that you're here, truly.
I'm actually honored that you decided to have me on in the first place, and it's definitely a Care Bear moment for Punk to have actually like he'd vouched and wanted for me to be on too. That's super
Yeah,
cool. I'm
because
glad that you
again, you're
did
like
that.
a vibe, and yeah, when I heard that, like you two were just talking more, I was like, oh, that's fuck yeah, that's awesome. Like, because I knew you guys were vibe.
And I remember whenever
Yeah.
you had brought up the podcast and you were talking about how Sod was going to be doing that and sort of the premise of it and everything, I immediately thought that was like one of the coolest ideas ever. And I was like, dude, I want to be on there just to give a perspective of how things had been and kind of touch on some, old things that maybe people nowadays in the fandom like have no idea about. Like, for instance,
Yeah.
IRC and Anthrochat and Fun Day Paw Pet Show, and maybe how cons were back then. Like, they weren't as big, so like it was a little bit more personal. Like, you could kind of hang out with people a little bit more, and it wasn't as crowded and crazy. And it was just, those experiences and stuff were different back then, and I was just super excited to have an opportunity to maybe give some of my personal experience with that. So first of all, I'm glad that you mentioned it to me that he was even doing this, and then to vouch for me to be on. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, also, again, it's just so far everyone we've had has been from a different like area of the fandom. Like Dingo's coming from the art side and the performance side, and Kaizen was coming from like a brand new side, but like more VR status. You're coming from a music side, Sawd, kind of in a way, and I'm coming from like a performer side. And like, yeah, and Shade, you got like the gaming side. Like, you're coming from the gaming streaming side because you were doing streaming and all of that, and gaming even when I first met you.
And
So
still do. I don't think that's going to
Still
ever
do,
go
yeah.
away. As my body fails on me with age, I guess that'll be about the time I call it quits. But other than that,
As long as I got two
No,
thumbs and a triggers, I'm good to go.
no, you're gonna
I'm
get
ready.
you're gonna get one of those helmets that can just read the brain waves and you can just
I'll just
play.
get a chip in my cerebellum by then and just think about
Yeah, that's
Think
all.
Think
all I
about
gotta
no
do.
scopes.
Yeah, think about the no scopes, sniping that live. With that said, I did have a couple of kind of rapid fire questions for you right at the end, if that's okay. Just to toss some things at you, if you're ready, if you're prepped for that, Shade.
I am not prepped for it, but go for it.
Bend
Hell yeah!
over.
All right. All right. Number one, Flash rank the Battlefield games 1 through 6. Let's go.
Ooh. Ooh.
Failed.
Oh man.
It's just six numbers.
Well,
It's just six numbers in a row.
Well, my first one was Bad Company 2.
Okay.
So I have a lot of love and nostalgia for Bad Company 2. Bad Company 2, Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4.
This is top to bottom.
This
Best to worst. Yeah.
Wow, that's really hard to categorize. I think if I had to choose one that I think that I spent the most time on and that I enjoyed the most and probably met a lot of the people that I still game with now and just had the overall better time with, I would say Battlefield 3.
Okay.
Battlefield 3 was probably the best to me.
3, 4, 6, maybe.
3, then 4, Bad Company 2. We'll see how 6 goes, but so far so good. So
okay, and the worst of them was
2042 without question.
Garbage game, terrible game. Got it. Okay,
Garbage.
real quick. How Rocket League Sideswipe? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Quick question:
Didn't have to think about it.
Did you ever win the Bojangles Xbox Series X limited edition?
No. Unfortunately, I didn't. I really wanted that Bojangles fried chicken color flavored Xbox. Yes, dude. The controller and the Xbox was Bojangles colored themed, and I wanted it so bad.
I don't think I would.
I didn't even care that I had reposted it on my main Twitter. It was so stupid to have that on my Twitter. I didn't care. I wanted it. It was so cool.
I think there is a specific time for bow time, and gaming is not it.
It's bow time. Listen,
I wanted a Cajun Xbox so bad.
Yeah. Get with it, punk. My God, come on. I'll send you the image afterwards, Punk. It was
Oh
real.
God.
Uh, but most critically, last question of all, what is one thing that you've genuinely enjoyed about knowing Punk all these years?
You know, from IRC days till now, so from like the beginning of my entire journey into this fandom all the way until this point, there are very few people that I've become friends with that have come into my life that have lasted as long as, say, me and Punk have.
Hmm.
There's very few people that have stuck around and just been chill with me, and we've just went through life together for that long. Um, I think that I I appreciate and really just enjoy the fact that he's one of those people that stuck around, and I'm just very I'm personally I'm thankful for that, because there's throughout my life and in general and through the fandom, that does not happen very often, and Punk is definitely one of the people that I'm glad turned out to be one of those people.
Hmm.
Aw. I
Aw.
Care Bear
Aw.
moment. Care
And
Bear moment.
well, I was gonna say I return the favor because I was even telling Saw that like again, like you've been so chill and you are like one of the very few people that we can just have laughing fits for minutes on end about
I
nothing.
know, I
And
know.
it's the funniest thing. We can give each other a look or just a single word and it's just we get it and it's just
Uh,
over.
like fandom or fandom or no fandom, Punk is just
Yeah.
one of those people that he just has a personality, like a wavelength, that for some reason I'm just right there with him. It's like to the degree that like sometimes we don't even have to say shit. We can just
Hmm.
look at each other, and or like in a certain moment or something, and just we just it just locks in, and we just get it, and it is the most hilarious thing ever. And I think that kind of connection with someone does not come often either. And I,
Yeah.
I I think that that's just like a special, really awesome thing that I'm super thankful to have. So
Yeah. Well, Punk, listen, I think we've had an amazing guest on, but I think we need to do what we need to do. I'm sorry, Shade, we're gonna have to leave you the room for a little bit as Punk and I need to confer our notes and determine whether or not you are definitely your Popufur or not. So let's just kind of go
Oh
ahead
do
here.
some
I'm
yeah.
do some
looking at the
calculations.
score sheet. What
Some
was
Break out the beakers.
was a
let
streamer,
me.
was a streamer for a while. Let's see here, gaming streamer. But he never did it in suit. There's that too.
No, no,
Uh,
no. That's
no.
that's negative one.
Yeah, -1. Does not have a Discord server as far as I can tell.
Okay.
So that is a million points right
Far as you
there.
know.
No, you do have a server, don't you?
Oh, he
Shut
does? Oh shit, a secret server? Okay,
Wait,
well
do you
let's
have
not
a?
bubble.
bitch.
I can't
Wait,
remember.
do you have a server? I genuinely don't know.
Does it count if like no one has been in it? It's just like collecting mummy dust for like the last 5 or 6 years
It
now.
counts as a server, right?
He has a server. I don't know. What's the call? Is this one a Popufur? What do we think? Yes or no?
Oh, don't know. He's a popular in our hearts.
He's a fire in our hearts. And I think that means that, you can still hang with us. I think you're amazing. I
Yeah,
think you're
yeah.
incredible. And most importantly, Shade, I think I'm so, so grateful that you decided to be here. It warmed my heart, and I'm so glad to know you, and I'm going to be happy to get to know you even better going forward.
I feel the exact same way, man, and I appreciate you guys letting me be on. I didn't expect to actually be here. So it's still kind of surreal to be here on this episode, like talking to you guys. But I super appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm glad you guys enjoy having me around. It's really been an awesome experience. So thank
Yeah.
you guys for letting me have the opportunity to kind of go outside of my comfort zone a little bit
Yeah.
and do this, because it was definitely anxiety riddled. I had never really done something like a podcast like this before, and I had a lot of nerves. So it's definitely an experience that I'm appreciative of. So
Yeah. Well, I think that means you could probably do one thing with us. If you already have some nerves, let's do the last potentially nervous thing you have to do, which is
Oh
maybe
God.
together you can join me and Punk in saying the name of the show together, because on the count of three, I can definitively say that for all of us, I'm
I'm
definitely
Definitely
not
not
a
not a
not a
Popufur.
Popufur.
popufur. No,
Yes.
definitely.
I'm
No,
not a
no.
Popufur.
Not that there's nothing defining it. Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, everybody, thank you so much for following us. Find us on our TikTok and whatever other socials we have. We'll always be here. Like, do all the things that all the Popufurs actually do. And otherwise, thank you so much. We'll talk to you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.